Hey, have you heard the news? It's the kind of thing that makes you stop in your tracks for a second. Brad Pitt's mom, Etta Pitt, has passed away. She was 84. I know, that hits hard, doesn't it? Even if you don't know her personally, hearing something like this just gets you. Because let's be honest, no matter who you are or how famous you get, losing a parent? That changes everything. It doesn't matter if you're a Hollywood icon or just someone watching this video in your room right now. That kind of pain, it's universal. If you've ever lost someone close, someone who meant the world to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like everything around you keeps moving, but inside, you just feel still. Numb. And right now, Brad Pitt is living through that moment. So today, we're not just reading a headline. We're going deeper. We're talking about the woman behind one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Not the red carpet. Not the tabloids. But the real heart behind the fame. Jane Etta Pitt. Who she was. What she meant to Brad. And why her passing is such a heavy, heartbreaking moment for him, and honestly, for anyone who values the quiet, steady presence of a mother figure in their life. And stay with me, because there's a part of this story that most people haven't heard about. It's something the media kind of skipped over, but it says so much about who Jane was, and what really matters when everything else fades away. So let's just sit down for a few minutes, talk about this woman, and what she meant, not just to Brad, but to everyone who knew her. Alright, so let's start with the basics, but I promise, it's anything but boring. Jane Etta Pitt was more than just Brad Pitt's mom. That title? Sure, it's what people recognize. But she had her own story, her own life, and her own quiet strength long before the world ever heard of her son. She worked as a high school counselor. Can you imagine the patience, the kindness, the emotional strength it takes to guide teenagers through the most confusing years of their lives? That's the kind of person she was. Not flashy. Not loud. Just real. Steady. Strong. She came from Oklahoma. Raised her kids with good old Midwestern values. The kind that stick. Hard work. Integrity. Faith. Family. It makes you think, doesn't it? You see Brad Pitt on movie screens, at award shows, on magazine covers, but he didn't come from fame. He came from a home that was grounded. A home that believed in doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. And Jane was the core of that home. You didn't see her chasing the spotlight or giving interviews about Brad's success. She wasn't trying to cash in on his fame. She stayed in the background. Always there, always supportive, but never looking for attention. She wasn't the type to scream, "Look at me." She was the kind who said, "I'm here when you need me." And she always was. Now about her passing. Jane died peacefully in Springfield, Missouri. That's where she lived, where she raised her family, and where she quietly spent most of her life. She was surrounded by loved ones when she passed. The exact cause hasn't been made public, but it's been said she had been battling health issues for some time, quietly, privately. Just like she lived. You know the kind of person who doesn't want to worry anyone? Even when they're sick. That's who Jane was. The type to smile and say, "I'm okay," even when she wasn't, just so you wouldn't worry. That kind of selflessness, it's rare. And honestly, it's beautiful. Brad, as you might expect, hasn't released a public statement yet. And maybe he won't. Some people grieve quietly. Especially when the pain runs this deep. But we do know this, he was in Europe filming when he got the news. And the moment he found out, he got on a plane and headed home. That right there, that tells you everything. Because no matter how big your life gets, when your mom is gone, you drop everything. And it's not just about being there for a funeral. It's about needing to be close to where they were. To touch the places they touched. To feel their presence one last time. To say goodbye in a way that feels real. Brad and his mom weren't just mother and son. Their bond went way beyond that. In an old interview, Brad once said, "My mom was the rock. The one I called when I didn't know what to do." Think about that. The one he called when life got messy. When things felt too big, too confusing, too painful. Even when he was going through his very public, very messy split from Angelina Jolie, guess who stood by him? Jane. She was always there. Always defending him, even when it wasn't popular. Even when it meant people might come after her. She didn't care about backlash. She cared about her son. Now, that's not to say everything was always sunshine and roses. There were rumors. Some whispers here and there, that Jane and Angelina didn't exactly see eye to eye. Mostly over parenting styles and personal beliefs. You know, the kind of quiet tension that can happen in any family. But Jane never stirred up drama. She wasn't the type to air dirty laundry. She held her ground but didn't make a scene. She believed in keeping things private. Respectful. Loving, even when there were differences. That's the kind of maturity we need more of, right? And here's something a lot of people don't know about her. Jane once wrote an open letter about traditional marriage. It got a lot of attention, some supportive, some very critical. But the point wasn't really the politics. What stood out was that she spoke up for what she believed in. She didn't do it for applause. She didn't do it to make headlines. She did it because that's who she was. Honest. Straightforward. Faithful to her beliefs. And the thing is, Brad didn't agree with everything his mom believed. But he still loved her. Deeply. That kind of love? It's unconditional. That's the kind of relationship they had. So what can we take away from Jane's story? Honestly, a lot. Because Jane Pitt wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't rich or famous in the way we usually think. But she was powerful, in that quiet, steady way that really matters. She showed us that you don't need a stage or a spotlight to make a difference. Sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who aren't trying to be seen at all. She reminded us that family values still matter, even in a world full of noise. And maybe most of all, she showed us what it means to stand firm in your love, even when the world is watching, and judging. Grief experts talk about this a lot. Claire Bidwell Smith, who's known for her work on grief and loss, said, "Public figures often grieve in silence because the world keeps watching. But inside, their pain is just as real. And that's something we sometimes forget. Just because someone's famous doesn't mean they feel loss any less. If anything, it might be harder. Because everyone's watching. Judging. Waiting for a statement. But sometimes, there's just nothing to say. And silence? Sometimes, that's the loudest way to mourn. So now, I want to turn this around for a moment. Think about your own life. Who's that one person who's always been there for you? The one who shaped you, believed in you, stood by you when things got messy? Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's a grandparent. A teacher. A friend. Someone who never needed credit, but deserved all the thanks in the world. If you're thinking of someone right now, maybe take a second after this video to send them a message. Or just sit with that gratitude for a moment. Because people like Jane Pitt? They're the real heroes in this world. And before I go, I want to ask you something simple. What's one thing your parent, or someone close, taught you that's still a part of who you are today? I'd love to hear it. Share it in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else who's watching this right now. And hey, if this story touched you, if it made you feel something, maybe give it a like. It helps more people see it. Helps more people remember that behind every celebrity, there's someone like Jane. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is a great time. We talk about real stories like this, stories that go beyond the headlines and remind us what really matters. And if you're still curious about Brad's journey, check out the next video, Why Brad Pitt Stopped Acting After His Divorce, The Truth Behind the Pause. That one's personal. And it might just change the way you see him. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care of yourself. And if you're lucky enough to still have your mom, or someone like her, give them a hug for me. Rest in peace, Jane Etta Pitt. You raised a good one.